Okay, the next step is to work on the carriage. And one of the interesting things about this is the whole carriage mechanism actually can be lifted out and removed, as you can see. I'm going to turn this around to show you how to remove the parts on the end there. One thing you got to be careful of is there are these two bumpers. There's a bumper here and a little bumper there. And those can fall out pretty easily, so you got to be careful that you don't lose those. Let me turn this around and we'll disconnect it from the back. We'll go ahead and we'll remove that. Okay, so I just pulled a grounding strap out on this side. Let me get that in a little bit closer so you can see what I did there. So this guy plugs in right in there. You'll figure it out. Okay, otherwise we'll disconnect the switch, the motor, this motor fitting, by the way, if you look closely at that, just trying to get that in a little bit so it'll focus. There's a fitting, there's space on this for 4 connectors, but only 3 of them are actually connected. And if you go back and look at the plug there where it plugs in right here, you can see the it plugs into the 3 leftmost fittings, so the rightmost one isn't connected. Let's zoom that back out. This is actually 2 cables here that go to the carriage. Those just on pull out to unplug. But that's running the carriage, doing everything down there. And then this one here is for the motor on that side. And like I said, there's a grounding strap over here. Mine actually broke. I haven't bothered to fix that yet. But with all that done, I should be able to lift this out completely free now. Yep, and there it goes. All right, I've got the carriage assembly off, and let's disassemble this, get the carriage off of the assembly. To get it off, there's a couple things you got to do. You have to remove the belt. Let me zoom in on that. There's the belt. The belt is attached to the bottom of the carriage, so you got to get the belt off. And then you have to get the carriage off of the 2 rails here. Now, you'll see, there's one, there's the other. For this one, it's real easy. It really isn't even attached to it. Maybe I can show that if I flip this up. Yeah, you can see under there that it's really just sort of in there with kind of a U-shaped bolt. But the other one, it physically runs right through the carriage assembly. So you have to remove this rod. Okay, the belt attaches to the pulley for the motor on this side. That pulley attaches directly to the axle. And on the other side, it's a little more complicated. There's a tensioning bracket there. And what we have to do is loosen that tensioning bracket, and then we have to remove the pulley there. Where are we? That pulley there. To loosen that bracket, it's a little funky. If we go down here and get this guy to come in, there are those 2 screws. One's there. The other one is there. And as you can see, to get to it, you have to go through the hole of this spring. And you'll have to get to that with the T9 wrench. And I will loosen that tensioner here somewhat. Give that one a few turns. Give this one a few turns. And then with any luck on the other side here, over here, you'll be able to get the belt up and around that pulley there. The pulley originally had sort of a flange on the outside of that. I was a little too aggressive pulling that out and busted the flange right off. So the plastic on that pulley is very fragile, so you got to be careful. All right, but I've got that off now. So now back to the other side. We come back in here. I'm going to push that out and see if I can get this pulley out. Ooh, looks like I might be able to. There it goes. So we'll see if we can work that other pulley out. There it goes. And now we've got the belt free. In order to remove the rod, you have to just undo that bracket. Holds the rod onto the assembly, and this side of it here comes undone pretty easily. On the other, come over to the other side here, and really you just have to push up on that part there. It'll take a little bit of force, but you push up on that, and the bracket pops off. Now that the belt's free, we just want to remove that clip that I was telling you about. I'm going to take the bumper over here and slide that off so we've got a little bit of room. And then I'm just going to use one of the screwdrivers here and push that little clip off to the side. There we go. You have to pull this forward to get it out of the way. Cover it with your hand so it doesn't go sprawling and fly across the room. And there's the little clip. That loosens the tension on the clip on the other side, by the way, so you got to be a little careful not to lose that. But at this point, we can slide that out a little bit, remove the bumper from the other side here, that bumper. And now we can slide the rod off. Finally, just rotate this up a little bit to be able to get it to clear on the bottom. Remember, there's a little like a U-shaped thing on the bottom there. Rotate that up a little bit. You have to play with it somewhat. There we go. And the carriage is free. Here is the carriage. This is where everything happens, right? We've got on here the hammer that we talked about already. There is a small sensor, an optical sensor here, right there. This was completely caked with ink. Little alcohol took care of that. There are also, below the print hammer, on the inside here, see if we can see them. There are a pair of optical sensors here. And what those do is they sense where the, I don't know if I actually got to show them. They're in there. Those sense the position of the print wheel while the thing is going. So it knows what character to print. If we turn it over, there's an electric motor here. I believe that's the one that operates the whole mechanism. Yeah, so if you spin this gear here, you'll see all the gears and stuff spinning there. That's what lifts and lowers the ink cartridge and the correction cartridge. The other thing is here. there's a small solenoid here, and that just pushes or releases this little guy here, and that causes it, when the thing turns, it causes this to go up, and that's where the correction ribbon holds. So essentially, I don't know if you can see that, but that's going, and then that comes up and it comes back down. There we go. So basically that solenoid there activates the correction ribbon. And I think we've got everything now. Okay, there is a small printed circuit board on here. This little bugger here. He comes off with 2 torque screws there. He's a real pain to get back on, but I guess I'll go ahead and do it for you. The other thing is down here, if I can show you. Right down there, there's another an optical sensor here that watches this print wheel, this wheel here. You know, as this spins, that wheel has slots cut in it, and the sensor there just senses the light going through or not going through. So basically, it's all a fancy way to tell how much the motor has spun. So you might want to try to take those out and clean them. It's a bit of a pain in the butt. What I found was that screw there will remove them, but then you still got to get it off from around that wheel, and I really didn't want to bend that wheel, so I didn't bother with that. The circuit board interfaces to the rest of the world through these 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 little connectors, and those are a big pain in the butt to get in and out, but they have these little guide wires, I guess is the best way to put it. These things aren't connected to anything, but if you push that down, that one will come out, and you can see, if I can zoom in on that, there's the connector. It's got that little funky guide sticking out of it. The electrical part is right there. So they're a pain in the butt to get back in, but you can do it. You'll need tweezers, but it's not impossible to do. The next step in disassembling this would be to remove those 2 screws. So let me just see if I can find my Torx wrench. It's gotten hidden underneath all this. Aha, there it is. So we'll take those 2 off. Okay, I got that off. Hey, I should mention, when you're doing all this, take lots of pictures. Take pictures from every angle you can think of, and then take more, because inevitably the picture that you need is the one that you forgot to take. Let's just take this guy off. And now we can kind of pull the ribbon cable through. There's one more connector. I'll turn that up. There's this one over here. I'll just undo that. Right, that's that little solenoid for the ribbon, the correction ribbon that I was mentioning. And it looks like this one, it's the long part of that faces that way. All right, so that's connected. Trust me, I've forgotten to put that one back in pretty much every time I've reassembled this thing. All right, let's pull that out, get a little room, fold it over. And switch this over a little bit. That's the other side. Again, you can see it's kind of ugly. It's kind of covered with goop. It's very simple, but there is another capacitor here. I replaced that one. This connector, it's a real pain. But let's see if we can do this one. These 2 push out to the side, and then push down and throw. They release this thing, which is just sort of a strain relief. this guy here. And then this comes falling out from God knows where every single time. And now finally, these guys can get pulled off. There we go.
Hello.
Hey. Once that's taken care of, you can thread this back out through here where it was. It went in this way. So I got that out. I got the various pieces, parts that held it together here. I'll put these aside. And there's the carriage in all its glory. You can see those sensors wherever they were. Yep, they were back there. I forgot to mention this piece here comes off. This is the little guide thing. It's even mine. You can see it's covered in whiteout and stuff. It slides out pretty easily. There's a pair of little guides here and here. Take it out carefully. There we go. Just slides right out like that. I'm just going to put it back in. But you can take that out and clean it. Be careful, the printing on that might come off if you're using alcohol. Okay, other things about this, these little spokes here. Here, this is sort of a spoked wheel. These are to grab onto and pull the correction ribbon. You just want to be careful of them. You don't want to flatten those out. And I believe there's another one on the other side too. Oh, maybe not. Okay, you want to get in there and clean this out to whatever extent you can. What I've found is the correction ribbon on this one is a little iffy. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. So I'm going to go ahead and oil this a little bit. I cleaned it, but then I didn't oil it. So shame on me.